Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about data warehouses and dashboards. So first and foremost, data warehouses store historical data for analyzing trends over time. This is different than a database, which stores live data that's being interacted with by users. Data warehouses are standardized, so the data that's inside them meets a certain standard. For example, in a database, a user might be inputting their address on a web form, and some people might put DR for drive instead of spelling out DRIVE. In a data warehouse, this would be standardized, so there's no data confusion or corruption. Data warehouses hold up to thousands of times more data than any single any single database, and they do this by accumulating data over time, as well as extracting data from multiple databases into one source. So the benefits of this is that it's a safer way to store data. Data that the user is interacting with in a database can be corrupted and input incorrectly. So this reduces invalid data to almost zero. And it's a more secure form of data storage. And then you can restore databases that might have become corrupted from historical data in your data warehouse. Data warehouses allow for historical trends and analyses via dashboards, which we'll talk about in a minute. These analyses can provide financial benefits and insights into consumer habits. So while your data is good for keeping track and records of what is occurring with your company and your customers, data warehouse can provide you more in-depth analysis of consumer habits and company objectives. Most importantly, data warehouses are long-term investments in data. This allows you to, over time, keep track of all of the data on your company, assets, inventory, the actions and habits of all of your customers or consumers, your employee information, everything. So if your company is planning on being around in 10, 15, 20 years, which obviously it would be, it's very successful, a data warehouse is a smart long-term investment in data. So at 10 years from now, you're not looking back on data from today or 5 years ago and not being able to interpret it correctly. Implementing a data warehouse can take a long time, but simple steps include just creating a new location to store your data. There are a lot of opportunities out there for this. It depends on your specific data needs. I would recommend something cloud-based. And then from there, simply creating a schema that you're going to use for each database that you're going to incorporate into your data warehouse. And then using that schema to extract data, extract copies of data from a database, transform it. So like I said, if, for example, somebody had input drive as DR, you want to transform that to drive the full word, and then loading it into the data warehouse. This is usually accomplished by a database administrator and is performed via scripts, which has the benefit of being so it can be automated and modeled and written out over time. So as I said, data warehouses are different than databases. You might not see exactly how right now, but we can talk about this. So data warehouses compile data from multiple databases, which a single database never does. They're more standardized and they're safe, more secure. Also, the customer never interacts with a data warehouse. the data warehouse interacts with various databases, and then the customer interacts with the databases. Same thing with almost all of your employees, except for those who would be viewing dashboards. But that's more of a interaction, as nobody's actually inputting data into a data warehouse except the database administrator. All right, so what are these dashboards I keep talking about? Dashboards are a simple and efficient way to display data visually. They portray key trends of data in an interactive way, and they can be very coarse. So seeing a large picture, perhaps average consumer spending by month for the past 5 years. That's going to be, very, very broad. But then we can break that down, and you can examine for each of those 5 years, what was the consumer spending per day for the month of April. So a dashboard is different than a report. A report is written out at a specific point in time and then delivered to you. And by the time it's delivered, it's probably out of date already, just because of the time that it took to write and prepare and then be delivered. Dashboards are electronic, so they can be accessed anywhere. They're always up to date, and it's real-time analytics. So they'll update themselves due to based on your programmer, and you can see this data anywhere. You can be walking down the street for lunch and want to check on those monthly and daily sales reports, and you can just do it on your phone. The dashboard allows you to interact with your data to make it more coarse or more fine-grained, as well as being vetted by the programmer in charge so that you don't see any unnecessary and excess data, only the key elements. So just in review, data warehouses are secure forms of data storage that are used to discover new insights into historical data by analyzing trends over time. This is a great solution for a company that has multiple databases from national travel agencies, cash registers, and an online website presence. You can compile all this data into one data warehouse, use the metrics to determine consumer habits, and create actionable intelligence. A really simple example before we go is that you could use data from the marketing team on consumers who have requested information packets and then come to visit, and you can use this information, link it to another database, and see which of those consumers actually bought products, what products they bought, if those products were listed in the information packets, and how much they cost, if they returned ever again, and what they bought on return trips, or if they didn't buy anything at all. Linking this data from the marketing team and the cash registers team is just one simple example of the power of data warehouses and their dashboards. So thank you for your time today, and I hope you consider data warehouses.